important to look at that in the context of the emotional habit of type. The two work very much in concert together. So have I confused everyone? It's complicated, but did that?
Great, thank you. Thank you. Right, so you're getting a sense of the layers of this. Like, so you have your dominant type, and you have your wings, and you have the places you go to, and you have the centers, and now you have the subtypes, and that explains, that's the best presentation I've heard on subtypes. And I'm not flattering you, that's, 'cause I'm not trying to, but, that's always appreciated by three. But, so now I'm being the one who's scanning, and the ones, there's a lot of the three too.
Threes and ones are very similar.
They're similar, but again, there's just that little difference. But, if I can just use my two friends in the second row here, Maureen and Marianne, are very different, but and that's really why I kind of got onto this, is that one, Maureen, you seem a little more introverted, a little quieter. You don't, you're more energetic. You're more, out there, and so it's important, I think, to pick up on that, like to realize that even though someone is saying they're one, that it doesn't mean that they're like the same thing. That this is a spectrum, and there are all these influences then that can shape how you do the one, or the three, or the.
I'm curious about the subtypes. So, like the self-preservation, do they also have like a dominant emotional thing, like a self-preservation subtype would be fear, and
No.
a social subtype would no.
No, it's very much around an instinctual biological drive. So her question was, is there an emotional habit correlation to the subtypes? In other words, does fear correlate more to self-preservation? And it's actually much simpler than that, right? The instinctual drive is a biological instinct that we are wired to have as animals, right? As mammals. And so it's really the way in which that drive to have material security, to be connected within a group, to feel deep connection with other, works with the emotional habit of our type to get what we feel we need in order to be safe, complete, secure, energized, whatever descriptor you could put on that. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. I think what I would like to do is come back to this periodically, and because my hesitation was to, like in the first couple of sessions, Wendy said, "What about the subtypes?" And I thought, I'm sort of trying to piecemeal the stuff out so that you don't get overwhelmed with everything. But I think today is great. We're about in the right place now to just bring this up, and then we'll come back to this and talk about maybe all of those influences as we go through. We can have a revision, so to speak, of each of the personalities and talk about the subtype particularly then as well. So next up are the wings. So we talked about the three is in the heart center, and on either side, of course, then you have the two and the four. So you have a three with a two wing. So the two is going to modify the threeness, so to speak. So then the focus becomes on gaining admiration while helping via personal achievement. So the two is more into relationship. Remember that they're out there telling you what you need. They know what you need better than you know. So the three is going to pick up some of that energy, and they're going to be successful in relating to you by helping you figure out your needs, or making, as you said also about making other people successful makes you look successful. I mean, if you're a good coach and your clients are all doing well, then kudos to you. You're going to look good. More extroverted, seeks out situations to be the star, loves excitement. Shapeshifters gravitate to politics, influence, and motivating others. So we're hearing some common themes at the same time. Competitiveness masked. Persona may seem to be artificial or inconsistent. So, one of the things that unfortunately you can kind of maybe take away from a 3 is that they're not sincere. You think, well, they're just friends with me for what they can get out of the relationship. And that may or may not be totally true, but it's just a feeling that you might pick up on. They're intimate with a crowd, and I think we just saw that. Wendy has this great way just to get up there and start talking. They're comfortable in that situation. Rarely vulnerable in a one-on-one situation. Ones are very comfortable at parties to be the one to turn to whoever's alongside them and just strike up a conversation, generally. Again, we've talked about the subtypes, that can be different. Let's see. Okay. Oh, no, I got to go back. Let's see. I jumped. I forgot about the 3 with the 4 wing. We can't do that. We must be fair. Must give them equal time. Okay, so then the 3 who is more influenced by the 4 energy, and remember they're the ones who are very. They feel that they're very special, that they have intense feelings. So it's more a sort of a intense relational kind of energy. So they're going to be modified by that. And then also the 4s are artistic. So they're going to pick up some of that energy. So then a 3 with a 4 wing measures self-worth through achievement, especially in terms of career, hides inner struggles about personal value, has awareness of their shame. So again, for the 2s, 3s, and 4s, the emotion that they're often dealing with is shame, as opposed to anger for the 8, 9s, and 1s, and fear for the 5, 6s, and 7s. So shame can be something that comes up for a 3 with a 4 wing. The drive to succeed is complicated by creativity, the desire to know the self. So they're more open to doing some of that shadow work to get to know the self and to look after their own needs. Internal conflict or tension, more likely to explore feelings than the 3 with a 2 wing. Introverted in comparison to the 3 with a 2 wing, need quiet reflection time, less shine. So they're not into being sparkly as much as the other. So any comments from any of the other 3s? Are you seeing distinctions there that might help? Who's somebody got oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
That's okay.
Well, I'm a 3 and I'm usually a 2 wing, but sometimes if I'm upset I go to a 4 wing. Is that possible?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Christy says that she is a 3, usually more in the 2 arena, but when she's upset, she goes to the 4. And that's, to me, makes sense because, 4s are dealing with intense feelings, and it's the place where the 1 goes to and completely crashes and burns. Because you're getting into, the internal needs and feelings and the upset and all of that. So that would make perfect sense. Yeah. Yvonne.
We might have dealt with this because I wasn't able to do the first couple of sessions, but I did all 9 on the Enneagram. But what I found was I did a box where I was under 25, and then the actual box is where I am right now, and there was a real difference, and I don't know what that means exactly.
Okay. You're in a different place. So, what did you think you were when you were under 25 years of age? What number did you think you identified with?
Well, I was definitely a much more than 3.
More of a 3. Okay.
Not totally, but
Okay.
I'm not much more, say, inhibition.
Mm-hmm.
I was much more concerned about me.
Okay, much more concerned about what people thought of you. So, what career did you get into?
I got into leadership training. I was in consulting business.
Okay, all of that would be
Yeah.
3-ish.
Director for Leadership Institute, but then I was on the school board for 13 years.
Okay.
You know.
Were you the president of the board or the treasurer?
Several times, but that was
Just 5 times, you know.
Just checking.
That was my rotation.
Right.
State level and then,
Yeah. So, well, there's a couple of things that are coming into my mind. You know, sometimes the career that we take either takes us more strongly into our type, or it forces us into a different coping mechanism. So we might not be utilizing the one that's more instinctual to us or natural to us. But I think also then as we age, there's the whole midlife crisis thing and reevaluating. And so, you could be a very strong 3 for a long time and suddenly think, like as Wendy said, this isn't working anymore. This isn't satisfactory. And I know you're an artist, so maybe you suddenly decided, hey, I'm going to start putting more time into my hobby and being an artist. And then that's more satisfactory. So you're balancing out the 3 energy, kind of bringing it down a bit, and then you're bringing up your wing, the 4 energy, for instance. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is the opposite of a 3?
The opposite.
Well, I mean, I thought there was a circle of,
We're not there yet.
Well, I wouldn't use the term opposite so much, but let me go back here. So if we go, well, you can't really see it there that great, but if you go to the what we call the lines, you find, so for the 3, okay, so the 3, the 6, and the 9. So if you're a 6 or a 9, so this is important information for you too, because you are connected to the 3. And the thing about this diagram, if you want to call it that, there is an equilateral triangle in the center of this. Like, well, you can see it kind of here. I can't increase this, but so the 3, 6, and 9 form an equilateral triangle. And this is the interesting thing about these 3 numbers. They're called the anchors of the Enneagram. The 3 is in the heart, the 6 is in the head, and the 9 is in the gut. And they don't have, like the other numbers, necessarily a foot strongly in another center. They're all in the heart, all in the head, all in the gut. The others they're strong, dominant, and then they have a foot in another center. Again, now, don't think I'm saying that they don't have the ability to think or to be in their gut, but you know what I'm getting at. So the 3, when the 3 is in a good space and goes to, well, let's go to disillusion, as they say first. When they're in crisis and they kind of fall apart, they go to the 9. So I think that's more the question that you're asking, not so much the opposite as where's the weakest point for them. It's they start taking on the energy of the 9, which is a withdrawing energy. They're trying to be the peacekeeper as opposed to being this bright, shiny star out front. And I don't like that word sloth either.
Self-forgetting.
Self-forgetting. So they kind of go further. See, the thing that they need to do is get in touch with their needs and their own feelings, the 3. And if they go to the 9, then they're just falling asleep even further to their own authenticity and their own feelings and needs. So that's kind of, if you want to call it, the opposite of the 3.
Would a 3 in the same way would go to a 9 could go to the 6?
Okay, so let's go back into that. So we're starting here with what they call the heart point, or the I thought I had this thing set up so that it wouldn't do this. Anyway, the loyalist. Okay, so the 3, when they're in a good space, goes more to the 6 energy. The competition, that sort of competitive edge, starts to drop away, and they can be perceived as warmer. Become more willing to follow and not be in control. More present, more concerned with other people's feelings. Loyalty becomes more important than deceit or gaining rank. Teamwork and relationships become much easier. The downside is the search for external security heightens insecurity. So for the 6 is very much into security. So searching for external security heightens insecurity for the 3 at that point. And when you were talking about the 3 wanting to be secure financially and all of that, that can be a real driver. Also for the 1, there's a lot of insecurity around finances or that type of success. Like, will I ever really make it in the world? Will I ever have a career? Will I ever make enough to, have a life? That's also a common theme with the 1. So then if we go back to the 3 going to the stress point, when they kind of fall apart, they go to the energy of the 9, the peacemaker. Doing gets blocked, so they sort of suddenly have a complete reversal of energy where they're not productive, they're not getting up, they're not getting out. It's very much a U-turn for them, and they disengage. And then there's, of course, that worn out quality. When you've been on the treadmill for, how long, it's like crash and burn. I'm just burnt out. I have no energy for anything. And again, when this goes to an extreme, it can end up with people having major health issues or mental health issues or addiction issues. Like, you've no motivation anymore, you're depressed. So worn out from failure. So if you are a 3 and you're not successful, that's a tough one, because you're not getting your juice. You're not feeling good about yourself because you're not succeeding. Or what if you were very successful and now you lost it all, or it's suddenly taken a whole turn and you're not as successful as you used to be? That's a tough spot also. Displays a lack of motivation, enters a depressed state, finds a way to numb out, food, drink, more work, becomes less productive and efficient, less confident. Okay, the upside of going to the 9 is that they find downtime. And the downtime is helpful because it allows them to regain some energies, which is what they need. And it drops the productivity and being on that wheel, that just running. And they get away from the whole idea then of image, that image is so important. Okay, for growth, well, let's have a look here. Their gifts: practicality, industry, good leaders, high energy, personally powerful, efficient, enthusiastic, ability to motivate others, usually very accomplished, and they intuit what any situation needs. This is, again, I think, sort of where the 1s and the 3s are pretty similar. They have this ability to kind of just laser in and figure out what's needed. They can see very clearly what needs to be done. So the challenge always with presenting the Enneagram is that it does start to sound like all of these negative things. When, that's true, there are negatives, but I just want you to also pay attention to the positive sides, the gifts, the strengths, because they are there, we do tend to maybe look at the more negative. Their virtue is honesty, genuine. So this is when they're going healthy, when they're really getting conscious. Genuine self-assessment, which depends on accepting and learning from your limitations or failures, looking past appearances to the substance or the merit of the matter. So a healthy 3 brings great honesty and clarity. Hope. So hope is then the great virtue, if you will. Healthy self-assurance, ability, and a positive determination to accomplish without need for admiration. So when you think about it, to be a politician, to be the President of the United States, you have to have a lot of hope. You have to have a lot of positivity. And so 3s bring that gift to groups. They're so confident that we can do this, and we can achieve. So that's a great quality to bring to the table. They can be an inspiration to others. Like, of course, if you look at someone who's successful, you think, well, gee, I could do that. At their best, a shining beacon, a demonstration of work as effortless, a delight, and again, you may pick that up from some 3s that it's almost like when they're in their stride, it just all seems effortless, but it's also like the duck who's paddling really hard down there to make it across the lake. It looks beautiful on the surface, but there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of, being carried along by the task rather than having to direct, manage, and control it. So, all right. Oh, that's right. I keep thinking they don't have that one in there yet in the app. I think that's the subtypes. I don't think they.
The levels of integration is more the Riso-Hudson.
Oh.
This is based more on the Riso-Hudson model.
Okay.
And less on the narrative tradition model, and that's where
Right.
you see.
You know what? I was just going to ask you too,
Yeah.
if you would explain to the group what is the narrative tradition.
Okay.
So Jerry did a really excellent job of presenting the background of the Enneagram. This is another thing that 3s do, is we recognize our team members. And so in the 70s, when we were talking about Claudio Naranjo and Echazo, we had 2 groups that formed. Well, actually 3. One was the Palmer Daniels, which was the West Coast group. That was Helen Palmer, David Daniels, and they formed what is known as the narrative tradition. And this is where we learn about type through hearing other types interviewed and presenting what their experience has been. The Riso-Hudson model, and by the way, I think that's where some of the instinctual subtype research has come more to the fore. So you may have read B. Chestnut's work on 27 Paths to Greater Self-Knowledge. I think she's, to my mind, that's probably one of the better books that's out there now that kind of covers the spectrum. The other group that formed was on the East Coast, and that was Don Riso and Russ Hudson. And they're the ones who wrote The Wisdom of the Enneagram, that lovely blue book with the I think it's got a picture of the dove on it. That book became really prominent and well known in the 90s. So those are kind of the 2 major schools of the Enneagram. And if you're on the Riso-Hudson side of the spectrum, you learn more about levels of integration. That talks, there we go, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. And that talks more about, it's more of a psychodynamic aspect of looking at it from the psychology of the Enneagram. The narrative tradition, Palmer Daniels School, I think focuses more on learning about type through just understanding other people that we come across in our lives and hearing them describe who they are. I think both are appropriate, both are interesting. We can learn lots from either side of the equation. Levels of integration, though, goes much more into that spectrum of healthy expression of type and unhealthy expression of type, where the unhealthy expression of type really is correlated to a particular psychological, I don't even want to call it disorder, but need. Yeah, so if we see, for example, narcissism, you may see certain narcissistic personality types expressed in a level of development, and every type can have that expression of narcissism or border personality disorder or what have you. But it's sort of, where am I in that continuum of self-awareness where I'm catching myself in the act and then being able to access other opportunities for self-development that may come through an understanding of my connections to my lines, my subtypes, or my wings, because all of them are resources.
So, like you've heard me say that I'm encouraging you to hear all of these different presentations and then try and identify people that to me is the way that I learn, so to speak. And the narrative tradition appeals to me because it is about hearing, and it's about connecting with other people rather than just a test, which you can manipulate that test based on, again, your unconscious desire to look good. Like if you're 3, you'll maybe answer all those questions the way that you'd like to be, and so then other types could do the same thing. This is who I'd really like to be. Well, so then you're not getting a true type of who you are. But if you're listening, and then your guard goes down, and then there's humor, especially, you can discover who you are. Yeah. So don't give up. If you haven't figured out who you are, it could be that you're a 5, and you're
This is a really good book, by the way.
the art of typing.
And it's by Ginger Lapis-Bogda.
Ginger Lapis
Lapis-Bogda.
Bogda.
It's from the Enneagram tradition. She was one of my teachers.
The narrative, you mean?
Yeah, the narrative. And so it's called The Art of Typing, and it's a really marvelous book for just asking yourself, within, am I a 5 or an 8, right? There's some great questions that you can ask.
Great.
To help you define that.
And I think there's some of that in the back of the Enneagram Made Simple. It talks about how some numbers, like 2s and 9s, can kind of come across the same, but you can differentiate. So if you want to get your typing up to 120 words a minute, that's the book to get. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, it's called The Art of Typing.
No, I'm joking.
Ginger Lapis-Bogda.
How do you spell her name?
It's LAPID -BOGDA. Lapis-Bogda.
I'm kind of freaking out because all these years I thought I was a number 7, and I'm sitting here, it sounds like I'm a number 3.
Great, congratulations. Round of applause for, hey, it's never too late, is it? Don't make it definitive. We've got a couple of weeks to go. And at the back of the book, maybe if you don't have the book, someone else can show you, there's the ability to differentiate. So you can pick those 2 numbers and see, does it say that these 2 kind of come across similarly? Like as I said, 1s and 3s can, 2s and 9s can. I always have difficulty with the 5s and the 6s. It's like, 7s are kind of clear to me, 8s are pretty clear. 1s generally are clear, but 4s are definitely clear, like that 4 energy. And if you do need help, call me and we can talk. Okay, so where are we here? So I think this is to do with health. If you realize that everything that is necessary is getting done, in other words, you're not in control, you're not the one driving the wheel, what would your life be like? So that's a great question for threes to take a look at. What if I didn't have to succeed? You know, see, this is where you drop from more the false self into the true self, because the reality is you're already accomplished. That's right out of the Course of Love. It says, it talks about being the accomplished, because we already are the accomplished. We're already a success. We cannot fail. What would you do if you couldn't fail? See, there's a question for a 3. How to focus on being as well as doing, on true feelings and on dealings with the over-eager energy and the deceit involved in pursuing success. Now again, there's nothing wrong with success, but it's just saying if every living moment is all about success, okay, how can you change that? So the growth path would be to connect with your emotions, to explore the soft, tender aspects of the self, to process with others, listen carefully, release the need for control. Differentiate between real feelings and your image-driven ones. Be more introspective, discover your inner life and your true purpose. Stop. Learn to just be. And if you were here on Sunday, I gave a talk really about silence, solitude, and stillness. And this is what the 3 needs to do. They just need to stop and be. And just to feel what that's like. And that is like, you can just feel the burden lifting. And it's so nourishing to just be. Practice honesty and authenticity. Notice your motives. Avoid shortcuts. Help others achieve. So, of course, there's always the danger when you're trying to be successful that you're going to cut people off, that you're going to take shortcuts and get yourself deeper into trouble. Accept failure as a part of life, part of the whole experience. Pay attention to self-care, especially physical needs. Relax. Learn commitment to something other than self-interest. Do things you aren't the best at, that don't produce results. So I don't know, the thing for the 1 is, it's very hard for the 1, especially as children, to take on something that they don't think they're going to be perfect at. Like for some reason, my mother decided I was going to play the accordion. My brother played the button accordion really well. But so she bought me a piano accordion. Well, I tried, but I can remember still being on stage on a Christmas recital with all these other accordion players, just dying, because I lost where I was, and then I'm like pretending I had no clue. It just wasn't me, But a 1 will not do something at all. Like even swimming was really hard, because it's like, if I can't do it perfectly, and all of these things you have trial, and you have to learn, and you're not going to be good for a while. Chess was another one. It was like a nightmare what was going on in my head, because I was on the school team, and now the pressure of having to not lose, and